Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Catholic Truth Podcast, where we teach and preach the Catholic faith, which comes down to us over 2,000 years from Jesus and the apostles. Today, we have two special guests with us. We have Stephen Roberts and Austin Kelly, who are making a show, a Catholic TV show called Knights of the Cross, and it's about the real truth of the Crusades. As many people know, there are an infinite amount of myths and misconceptions about the Crusades, from the fact that the Catholic Church just wanted to kill everyone who disagreed with her, or wanted to wipe out the poor, peaceful Muslims, or just wanted to dig up the gold or get money from the East, and a whole other assortment of myths and misconceptions that they clarify. But more so, it's a show that's focused on Catholicism, the power of God, and how God works through his church and the Crusades specifically. So I'd like to welcome you guys to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Bryan. It's awesome to get to be on Catholic Truth.
Maybe one of you guys can start off by just giving us an overview of the show that you guys are making. It's a very Catholic show, isn't it?
Yeah. Austin, do you want to start or should I start?
Go for it, Joe.
Okay. Well, I mean, the idea behind it was to do something historically faithful on the Crusades. Austin approached me a while back. It's a collaborative effort between Austin, who runs a streaming service called Christian Channel, and then me. I run a YouTube channel which focuses on medieval history. It's called Real Crusades History. A lot of it is about the Crusades. That was it started out exclusively on Crusades history and kind of evolved over time. But the idea was, collaborate on those two levels and do something that's both historically faithful to the Crusades and something that also gets through the religious facts that underlie the Crusades. The Crusades were, in fact, a very faith-driven enterprise. I think a lot of TV shows and cinema about the Crusades portray that as kind of a fraud, like some sort of fraudulent excuse to just go on a plundering expedition, which the reality is any just mainstream scholar who has no, express religious affiliation is going to tell you that is not true at all. I mean, you're somebody like Jonathan Phillips or Jonathan Riley Smith or any mainstream scholar is going to tell you that is just not true. And so my point there is just that this is not just like a Catholic talking point or something. This is what the scholarship
Rodney Stark.
Yeah, somebody like Rodney Stark. But I think he's and he has a really good book about the Crusades. But even beyond that, like people who are Crusade specialists, like who that's their thing. Like again, some of the big names like Helen Nicholson, Jonathan Riley Smith, Jonathan Phillips.
Jonathan Riley Smith. He got his book one of his books right here.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, he's excellent.
And so that was the idea. And, what we're doing, the show is called Knights of the Cross, and we're doing a pilot episode that's going to be coming out next month. And the idea behind that especially was to really focus on the character of Richard the Lionheart. So our setting for our show is going to be the Third Crusade, which obviously was King Richard's crusade where he battled Saladin. And we wanted to, again, this is somebody who's kind of misunderstood. Like I know that like the crew we worked with, Cinema Forte, the director Aaron Stevenson talked about how everybody just thinks of Robin Hood when they think of Richard the Lionheart, which that kind of struck me because this is a king who was very deeply religious ultimately. And he was a warrior king as well. But there's just no way to understand his motivation for launching this crusade without understanding that religious motivation. So I think that's a big part of what we're trying to do with the TV show.
And wasn't he one of the earlier heroes in the earlier Crusades as well? Wasn't he one of the big players?
Yeah, I mean, I think he really kind of came to be defined as the ideal crusader, not long after his death, maybe even during his own life, that kind of came to be understood. He was kind of the model knight, the model king. I think, we can't think about like sort of the chivalric ideal of the, medieval poets without thinking of a king like King Richard.
Yeah. Did you want to add anything, Austin?
Yeah, the story, when we started doing this project, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. So when we started doing the project, I reached out to Joe and I asked Jay Stephen, what project do you want to work on for a Crusader show? Because I was leaning towards the first Crusade. I wanted to do like Saint Fernando III, but when we got involved in the project, Jay pretty much reached out and said, we should really focus on King Richard of Lionheart. And having the very first episode with such a dramatic pull in and such great storytelling, this is the kind of show that I believe all Catholics will truly enjoy, is really the storytelling of King Richard the Lionheart, written and produced by Catholics. And I know that we put in a lot of our energy towards this project and making a really devout Catholic show. And I think your audience and the whole Catholic world is going to get super excited that we have the Eucharist presented in such a beautiful way in the cathedral. We have his devotion. We have a story of faith and how we ebb and flow with our faith. Well, we're so faithful and then we doubt our faith. And why are we on crusade? These people are real, and they live in such faith to go to the Holy Land to defend our faith. So the reason why we produced a show like this, Bryan, is because where we are today, how we as content creators have to defend our faith online, because exactly what you said earlier. People say, these crusaders, they sack, they pillage, and they're in it for gold. Some were, but also there are people like King Richard of Lionheart who we could aspire to be. We have saints like Saint Louis, who we could aspire and read in the history books, who we could aspire to be. So the show for us or for the Christian channel, is a little bit more than just the history of it. It's re-educating the public, but not doing it in a documentary style, but in a beautiful narrative. And I think there are a few elements in it that we wanted to put in. One was the Eucharist and Purgatory. And we've been getting a lot of phone calls and a lot of attention because the Purgatory scene that we have on the show is very realistic. And we had a Latin Mass priest on set, and it was spooky. Not going to lie to you. It was a spooky day on set. And I said, Father, is this okay? And he pulled out his Purgatory card and he said, it looks about right.
That's great. And when is this, that's one thing I noticed about the show too, is like, it was you focus on the sacrament of the Eucharist in a real way, in a very reverent way, in a way that, really speaks to the power of the Eucharist, to the reverence of the Eucharist, to the reality of the Eucharist, and Purgatory as well. That's one thing that struck me when I watched the show. There's more than meets the eye here. And so, I enjoyed the show because, I saw people in the show, real people who were on a mission from God and then were doubting it when things started to go sour, but then had to find faith and trust in God. And just the whole thing from the beginning was against the Christians. The Muslims had the strongest armies on earth by far. And for a ragtag crusaders who just got together from the beginning to overcome Jerusalem, there's no way. But God showed that there was a way. And I feel like that thread kind of continues into this third crusade that you guys have, where people, are getting, wars taxing on people, and it's difficult, and so it's natural, I think, to doubt and to wonder and to question and to seek God and to find your faith and to go deeper and to, kind of conquer through that. And I think you guys really pulled that out in the show for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bryan. Yeah. Doing productions like this, I want to just kind of educate the audience. Typically, financing shows like this, making it as Catholic as it can be, really could only happen through viewers that are like yours that are watching this. This is a crowd-funded show. We produced episode 1 on a very, in Hollywood standards, a very slim budget, but we pulled it off. Our team currently is working really hard, doing the VFX over the weekend and making sure the show looks beautiful. But like I said, making Catholic shows like this, if we were to go to a legit investor or Hollywood producer, they won't be as Catholic. And that's why, J. Stephen Roberts, he has a popular YouTube channel, The Real Crusades History. These are self-produced content. And so we really, our call to action is to all the viewers is, if you like shows like this, like Knights of the Cross, that's coming out for free on YouTube next month, feel free to support us. We allow you to come to the movie set to dress up in Crusader gear for only $1,000 to be in a show. Now
we did have some supporters come and do that too for the pilot episode, which is cool. So
yeah, it was fun. And it's really the atmosphere on the movie set. It's really relaxed. The gear, the equipment. Trust us, Bryan. We bought plastic spears. We had to throw them in the trash. They were just terrible. They looked like plastic on camera. So everything you see on the show, those are real swords. Everybody on set was like, "Be careful, don't hit anybody." So it was a really fun time, and I think we kind of think of it as a retreat. If you're a Catholic man out there and you want to hey, next summer I just want to be a part of this crusade. What's going on in Salt Lake City, Utah, that they're filming all these great Christian movies, for a week, just a week retreat, $1,000. I think it's pretty cool as a gift too. But if you
guys are in Utah, they have Catholics out there.
Very, very few. We story for you. We actually had we were trying to fly in a Latin Mass priest because there's only two Latin Mass priests here in Utah, and one of our priests couldn't make it in Florida, so we had found a Catholic priest in Park City, Utah, who came down, and he's a great guy, and he loved it. He loved being on the movie set, and he was talking to Jay for quite a while. Father, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But that's one thing I noticed from your show is that the reverence, it almost looked like it probably was a Latin Mass, that you guys had on that show, like just the way the priest was dressed, the gold, the reverence, was really well done and beautiful.
Thank you.
Now, when does this show come out? When are you guys releasing this first episode?
November 18, right, Austin?
Yeah, we're having a little bit of a release party in Park City, Utah. Park City is where they host the Sundance Film Festival. So we're having a little bit of a social event with a few hundred people. So we want to do a live event on YouTube, and it'll be available November 18th for free on the Real Crusades History YouTube channel and the Christian channel. If you have a smart TV, you can stream it for free.
Great. So I'm sure you guys will have more and more. Are you guys going to be doing ads or anything like that? Or are you just pretty much promoting through YouTube and other Catholic sources?
Pretty much through YouTube and other Catholic sources, kind of the word of mouth, grassroots effect.
Okay. Well, that's good.
There's going to be streams and stuff on my channel too, promoting it. Like Austin and I will be doing a special stream this Friday on my channel to talk about the show. So, that kind of thing.
Great. And I would challenge all of our viewers and our listeners to check out the show, this pilot episode. And if you love it, help support it, get behind it. But yeah, I would be interested to know people's comments and thoughts on the show afterwards too, and especially people have already been giving you positive feedback about the Eucharist and Purgatory and the very Catholic vibe that this movie sends. And so I didn't know if you guys had any last words that you wanted to say about it.
I could go. So all you have to do, like I said, this is a crowd-funded show. So we are raising $300,000. So far, we raised around $15,000 just in the past few weeks. So we really need viewers like you to help support it. And, we're going to film it this summer. For the tiers are for $149. You get to put your name on the ending credits of the show. So the whole world and your family could see, hey, I like this Catholic content. I saw it on the Catholic Truth podcast, and I look. And so you could always show your family members that you were a part of the show. And then if you want to come out and be a part of the show for $1,000, you get to hang out with the movie on the movie sets in a big giant green screen studio, have lunch, and talk to Jay and myself, and we get to film a really great Catholic show. And our vision for the show is it's a limited series. We have episode 1. We just need to crowdfund episode 2 and episode 3. And after the project's over, we're going to stream it on the Christian channel, and it'll also be on other streaming channels. So this is our modern way of evangelization. My vision for this show is to put it on the big streaming platforms and people to talk about the Catholic faith. Like, I'm going to share a story before we go. There were a few other faiths on the set, and a lot of the folks here in Salt Lake City predominantly are Mormon. So when we talked about the Eucharist, they were, I can't speak for them and say they had a conversion story, but they were definitely allured and understood that the Eucharist is the body of Christ. They were like, when we were on the set, Jay could share with you, we're a production company and we talked about the Eucharist. They were, oh, that's what that meant. So it's just like, it's catechesis for the modern age. And I think this show is a great way to catechize the world and just understand the Catholic faith just a little bit more, and the Latin Mass a little bit more, and just to fall in love with the real Crusade history and the Crusades. So I hope we could see you on the movie set. And to join us, all you have to do is go to knightsofthecross.com. And that's an ongoing campaign till we reach our goal. And we believe we'll reach it by the end of the summer. And we want to see you there on the movie set with us.
You only need 300 people, right?
300 people. And by the way, we were talking about episode 2 and episode 3. We have beautiful, beautiful, beautiful sand dunes just an hour south of Salt Lake City, hour and a half south. So there's so many scenes we could get permits quickly for that. We have these beautiful mountains where we want to film St. Simon's Stock. It's kind of in the development phase, but we want to add saints. So imagine this show kind of being like Star Wars. There's a lot of mysticism, and I hope when people watch it for free, they kind of click. It says, oh, this is like Star Wars-ish, but the Crusade.
Great. Did you have any last thoughts, Stephen?
Yeah. Kind of talking about the issue of the Blessed Sacrament. I mean, it's kind of funny. In a lot of the TV shows and movies about the Crusades, that is absent. In fact, the faith element itself is kind of absent. I remember there was a historian, I think it was Jonathan Phillips, who was pointing out that in Kingdom of Heaven, for example, there were no crosses or crucifixes shown inside of the buildings. He was saying how, and again, this is like a secular historian, and he was saying, medieval Catholics would have had crucifix all over their residences and their churches and this sort of thing. So the Eucharist, the Blessed Sacrament would have been such a real thing, throughout the Crusades. I mean, this is something that would have been an inspiration before a difficult battle. This is something they came back to. So I like the fact that, we are really being faithful to that and getting to the reality of the faith element, the devotion that was such a crucial aspect of the Crusades. So I think that's crucial, not just to historical accuracy, but to getting at these characters, like what really motivated them. So yeah, the Crusades are a huge part of not only just Catholic history, but just history in general. But I think, as Catholics, it's kind of important to, make a statement about that history that says, hey, look, a lot has been left out in a lot of previous other film incarnations that have looked at this period of time. And we really need to revisit this and do something that's more faithful to the truth about it. So, knightsofthecross.com. Check it out. Go to the website. All the info's there.
Awesome. Thank you guys very much. And thank you all very much for tuning in today. Check out the description section below. We will put the links down below where you can check out their website and their YouTube channel. And thank you all for tuning in. May God bless you. And definitely check out this show when it comes out. Take care. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Bryan.
Thanks, Bryan.
Yeah, absolutely.